What if Downton Abbey is about to open its doors one more time, but nothing inside is the same? Imagine a future where the people who once protected the estate are gone. A new generation is forced to take control, and the traditions that held Downton together are suddenly questioned. The biggest surprise is that the rumors are no longer fading away. Instead, they are growing stronger with every passing week. Could Season 7 become the boldest chapter in Downton Abbey's history? Or is this simply another dream that fans are refusing to let go? Stay with me, because what we've learned so far paints a picture that is both exciting and completely different from anything we've seen before. For years, many fans believed that Downton Abbey had already reached its perfect ending. After 6 successful television seasons and 3 feature films, it felt like the Crawley family's story had finally been told. Yet something interesting has happened over the last several months. Instead of disappearing from conversations, Downton Abbey has found itself back in the spotlight. Industry insiders continue discussing possible plans, entertainment reports keep mentioning future developments, and fans have started asking one question again and again. Could Season 7 actually become reality? While there has been no official announcement confirming a new television season, the amount of discussion surrounding the franchise feels very different this time. It is no longer just fans hoping for another chapter. Reports have suggested that new ideas are being explored, and that possibility alone has completely changed the conversation. Rather than simply continuing where the films ended, many believe the creators could choose a much more ambitious direction. One of the strongest ideas being discussed is a significant time jump. Instead of returning immediately after the latest film, the story could move several years into the future, placing Downton Abbey in the middle or late 1930s. This single decision would solve many storytelling challenges while opening countless new opportunities. The world of the 1930s looked nothing like the peaceful days audiences remember from the early seasons. Europe was changing rapidly. Political tensions were rising. Economic uncertainty was affecting families across Britain. Technology was advancing faster than ever before, and traditional ways of life were beginning to struggle against a completely modern society. That changing world creates the perfect setting for a new chapter. Downton Abbey has always been about change. From the sinking of the Titanic in the very first episode to the First World War, women's independence, changing class structures, and the arrival of modern technology, every season showed characters adapting to a world that refused to stand still. Season 7 could continue that tradition by exploring another major turning point in history. A time jump would also allow many younger characters to step into much larger roles. Children who once played quietly in the background could now become adults facing enormous responsibilities. Suddenly, the future of Downton would no longer belong to Robert or Mary alone. A completely new generation would begin shaping what the estate becomes next. George Crawley stands at the center of that possibility. As the future heir, he would carry expectations unlike anyone before him. Growing up during a rapidly changing Britain means he would see the world differently than his grandfather ever did. Instead of protecting old traditions simply because they have always existed, George might ask difficult questions about whether those traditions still make sense. That could immediately create fascinating conflict inside the Crawley family. Mary has spent years learning how to balance progress with respect for history. George, however, may push even further toward modernization. The estate could face financial pressures that require completely new business ideas, forcing the family to make decisions that earlier generations would never have considered. Meanwhile, Marigold would also become an important figure in this new era. Raised by Edith, she has grown up watching a woman successfully balance family responsibilities with an impressive publishing career. It would feel natural for Marigold to inherit that same determination while building a career entirely on her own achievements. Whether she enters journalism, publishing, or another modern profession, she would represent a generation of women with opportunities that barely existed when Downton Abbey first began. Sibby could follow a very different path. As the daughter of Lady Sybil and Tom Branson, she carries 2 completely different worlds within her family history. Her mother's compassion and her father's progressive thinking could shape her into one of the most unpredictable members of the new generation. Rather than accepting aristocratic expectations, she may choose a life that surprises everyone around her. This younger generation could completely transform the atmosphere of Downton Abbey. Instead of simply protecting the family's legacy, they would begin questioning what that legacy should actually become. Some would embrace change, others would fight to preserve tradition. Those disagreements could become the emotional heart of Season 7. At the same time, the estate itself may also begin changing. Running a massive country house during the 1930s would be far more complicated than it once was. Old systems that depended on large numbers of servants were slowly disappearing. Wealthy families everywhere were being forced to reduce staff, modernize operations, and rethink how these historic estates could survive. That means Downton Abbey itself could face its greatest challenge yet. Not a war, not a family scandal, but something even more difficult: learning how to remain relevant in a world that no longer works the way it once did. And if that truly becomes the foundation of Season 7, then this won't simply be another continuation of the story. It could become a completely new beginning for one of television's most beloved families. As exciting as the idea of a new generation sounds, every fresh beginning also comes with difficult goodbyes. If Downton Abbey Season 7 truly moves forward with a major time jump, then fans should prepare for some emotional changes that could reshape the series forever. Time changes every family, and the Crawleys would be no exception. Perhaps the biggest question surrounds Robert Crawley. Throughout the entire series, Robert has represented stability, tradition, and responsibility. He has always believed that Downton Abbey was more than just a house. It was a promise passed from one generation to another. But if the story jumps into the late 1930s, many believe Robert's role could become much smaller, or he may no longer be part of the story at all. That possibility would completely change the balance of power inside the family. Without Robert guiding every important decision, Mary would finally become the unquestioned leader of Downton Abbey. Fans have watched her grow from a young woman struggling with expectations into someone capable of carrying enormous responsibility. Season after season, she has learned from both her successes and her mistakes. Season 7 could finally show the result of that long journey. But leading Downton would not be easy. The world Mary inherits would be far more uncertain than the one her father once managed. The cost of maintaining the estate would continue rising, while traditional sources of income become less reliable. Every decision would carry greater risk. Selling land, welcoming outside investors, opening parts of the estate to the public, or introducing modern business strategies could all become necessary if Downton is going to survive. That creates an interesting conflict, because Mary has always respected tradition while understanding that change is unavoidable. She knows the house cannot simply remain frozen in time, yet every modern decision risks taking Downton further away from the values that built it in the first place. The staff downstairs could also experience dramatic changes. One of the defining features of Downton Abbey has always been the close relationship between the family and the people who work for them. Over the years, viewers have watched friendships develop across class lines, proving that loyalty often mattered more than social status. However, the 1930s brought a different reality. Large country houses across Britain found it increasingly difficult to employ as many servants as they once had. Young people were choosing different careers. Cities offered new opportunities, and domestic service was no longer seen as the only future available. That historical change could become one of Season 7's most emotional storylines. Imagine walking through Downton's famous halls and realizing that many familiar faces are no longer there. Mr. Carson may finally choose the peaceful retirement he has earned after dedicating his entire life to the house. His presence would still be deeply felt, but the daily responsibility of running the household could pass to someone completely new. Whoever steps into that position would immediately face enormous pressure. Living up to Carson's standards would seem almost impossible, especially in a world where traditions are becoming harder to maintain. Mrs. Hughes may also find herself standing at an important crossroads. Does she retire alongside Carson, enjoying the quiet life they have both earned? Or does she remain at Downton just long enough to help guide a younger generation before saying her final goodbye? Either choice would create a deeply emotional moment for longtime viewers. Anna and Bates could experience a different kind of ending. Their journey has been filled with hardship, heartbreak, sacrifice, and eventually, happiness. Instead of remaining tied to service forever, the next chapter of their lives could focus entirely on family, independence, and finally, enjoying the peaceful future they spent years fighting to achieve. Rather than feeling like a loss, their departure could become one of the series' most satisfying conclusions. Mrs. Patmore may also discover that life has more to offer beyond the kitchens of Downton. Her successful bed and breakfast has already shown that she is capable of building something for herself. Season 7 could explore how she balances her affection for the Abbey with the freedom she has worked so hard to earn. While some familiar faces may leave, others could arrive to reflect the changing times. Instead of traditional servants, Downton may begin welcoming professionals with entirely different responsibilities. Financial advisors, estate managers, accountants, architects, and agricultural experts could become essential to keeping the estate alive. These people would not join the household out of lifelong loyalty. They would be hired because they possess skills the Crawley family desperately needs. That shift alone changes the atmosphere of Downton. Older members of the household may struggle to understand employees who view their work as a profession rather than a lifelong calling. The emotional connection between family and staff becomes more complicated when business replaces tradition. This could lead to entirely new conflicts downstairs. Younger employees might question old customs that previous generations accepted without complaint. They may value personal freedom over lifelong service. Some could dream of careers beyond Downton instead of spending decades inside the same house. These changing attitudes would perfectly reflect Britain itself during the 1930s. Society was becoming more mobile, more ambitious, and far less willing to accept old social rules without question. Another fascinating possibility involves international storylines. Earlier seasons mostly focused on events affecting Yorkshire directly, but the late 1930s saw Britain becoming increasingly connected to global events. Europe was growing more unstable. Political tensions were spreading. Families across Britain could no longer ignore what was happening beyond their own borders. Characters like Tom Branson or the younger generation may find themselves drawn toward opportunities overseas, whether through business, education, journalism, or humanitarian work. Those experiences could bring fresh perspectives back to Downton while reminding everyone that the world outside its walls is changing faster than ever before. By the time these changes begin unfolding, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Season 7 would not simply tell another family story. It would explore what happens when an entire way of life reaches its turning point. Every farewell would create room for someone new. Every tradition questioned would reveal another possibility. And every decision made inside Downton Abbey would determine whether this legendary house can continue standing or slowly become part of history itself. As more rumors continue to appear, one question keeps coming back. If Downton Abbey Season 7 really happens, what kind of story will bring everyone together again? A simple family drama may not be enough. The next chapter needs a challenge that feels bigger than anything the Crawleys have faced before. Many fans believe the answer lies in the changing world of the late 1930s. Britain was entering an uncertain period where economic pressure, political tension, and rapid modernization were changing everyday life. Even a great estate like Downton Abbey could no longer rely on tradition alone. Every choice would matter, and every mistake could have lasting consequences. Money may once again become the family's biggest problem. Running a historic estate has never been easy, and the financial pressure could be greater than ever. Mary might be forced to make bold decisions that divide the family. Some may support modernization, while others fight to protect the old way of life. That disagreement alone could create powerful emotional drama throughout the season. Edith could also become one of the strongest voices in this new story. Her successful publishing career gives her influence far beyond the walls of Downton. Instead of simply reacting to events, she may help shape them. Watching Mary and Edith work together instead of competing would show just how much both sisters have grown over the years. Meanwhile, the younger generation would begin finding their own place in the world. George, Marigold, and Sibby are no longer children watching history happen around them. They are now old enough to make decisions that affect the future of the Crawley family. Their dreams, relationships, and ambitions could push the story in completely new directions while still honoring everything that made Downton Abbey special. Behind the scenes, reports and fan discussions continue to keep hope alive. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the franchise remains incredibly popular, and audiences clearly still want more. Whether Season 7 arrives as a full series, a limited event, or something entirely different, one thing is certain. The story of Downton Abbey still has the power to capture people's imagination, and fans around the world are ready to walk through those famous doors one more time. No matter how the future unfolds, one thing is becoming clear. If Downton Abbey Season 7 happens, it won't simply continue the story. It will begin a completely new chapter. The familiar halls, the grand dining room, and the unforgettable characters may still be there, but the world around them will have changed. That is exactly what Downton Abbey has always done best. It has never been afraid to show that time moves forward, even for the greatest families. The biggest challenge will not be keeping the house standing. It will be deciding what Downton Abbey should represent in a modern world. Can tradition and progress exist side by side? Can a new generation honor the past while building a different future? Those questions could become the heart of Season 7, making it one of the most emotional and meaningful chapters the series has ever told. For now, fans are still waiting for official confirmation. Until that day comes, every new rumor, every industry report, and every cast interview keeps the excitement alive. Whether the next chapter arrives as a full season, a limited series, or another surprise project, the love for Downton Abbey has clearly never disappeared. So now it's your turn. Would you like to see a full Season 7, or do you think the story should end with the films? Which character deserves one more unforgettable chapter, and who do you think should lead the future of Downton Abbey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this update, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more news and deep dives into your favorite TV shows. Until next time, the doors of Downton Abbey may be closed, but the story may not be over just yet. Whether Downton Abbey Season 7 becomes a reality or remains one of television's biggest what-ifs, one thing is impossible to ignore. The story still means something to millions of fans around the world. The characters, the unforgettable moments, and the timeless charm of Downton continue to inspire new conversations years after the original series ended. If a new beginning is truly on the horizon, it could introduce a new generation while honoring the legacy that made the show so special. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Season 7 should continue the Crawley family's journey, or would you prefer a fresh reboot with new faces? Which character deserves one final chapter, and what story would you love to see explored next? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this update, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest news, theories, and updates about Downton Abbey and your favorite TV shows. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.